Good gaming champions, and welcome to another episode of Tabletop Tales. This is Champions of Tabletop. Today we've got Shay, Dion, and myself, Matt. And boy, oh boy, gentlemen, whew, did we get lucky tonight?
Got lucky.
Our channel a lot better on the screen.
Okay.
Because we have a special guest, and many people out there are going to know her by the stage name, of course, of Jackie Foxx. We have none other than Jackie from DeVere Games.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Jackie.
I can't believe you weren't
spending your
recording
time
when
with
I
us.
sang Ooga Shugga, Ooga Shugga.
I followed up with you, so I'm glad they weren't.
Oh, now,
Well,
no.
Jackie, thank you so much.
You have to do the other vocals.
Okay, Dion, it's up to you now.
What's no? It's you. It's
You got to. No, you got to do
I
it.
think y'all got to do it together.
Ooga chaka, ooga, ooga, ooga chaka, ooga, ooga. Where are you at?
That's the best I got.
There you go.
There we go.
There you go. Okay.
That's
Hey,
it.
boy, there we go.
That's all I got.
That's all we
That's
need
the
for
best you're getting
TikTok
for
right
Jackie.
there.
That's okay.
So,
I like that.
all
I
right,
give that. I give that a 9. It had a good beat.
Oh, well, hey,
she's very generous.
that is
Appreciate
amazing. Thank you so much.
Well,
Do I
Jackie,
have a career?
You didn't
That's
ask
what I need
what
to
the
know.
scale was.
No.
That is true. That is
Out of
true.
100. Never mind. I'll keep my day. I'll keep my day
1,000
job
too.
at Voss Media. I'm good.
So, well, Jackie, thank you so much for taking the time to meet with us tonight. And of course, we're going to talk a lot about the newest game that we have right here. We have, of course, Rock Hard 1977, brought to us by Jackie and DeVere Games. So we're going to get into a lot of that. But we'd be remiss if we didn't take this opportunity to learn a little bit more about you, Jackie, because you have such an eclectic background of so many twists and turns of just incredible feats of achievement. And how you even get to board games from your background is definitely something I think people out there are going to want to learn about. So,
Absolutely.
Jackie, we'll kind of start with where you're a California native, and we won't hold that against Michigan. Welcome to the Big Ten, by the way.
I'm sorry, I love
Oh,
Michigan.
thank you.
My favorite gig that the Runaways ever played was in Michigan. Is that the
Nice.
It's got to be in
Royal
Detroit,
Oak
I assume.
Theater, Royal Oak, Michigan. And
Hey.
I have to tell
yes.
you, part of what was so fun about it was the bill. So I still can't believe this happened.
The bill.
Because we headlined, second build, Cheap Trick, third build,
Wow.
Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
No.
There's a,
That's amazing.
There's a photo of it that you guys can find on the internet of the marquee, because otherwise, I mean, I was there and I wouldn't believe that happened.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right? That's amazing.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
It
Yeah.
was great.
Well,
we did
Tom Petty.
two shows. I mean,
Beautiful.
in one night. So everybody filed in at, I think it was an early show, like 6:00, and then we had really tight set times. And one of the things about Tom Petty that everybody he ever opened for learned was that he would always play over. So he would play too long, and they finally got him off the stage. I mean, and he's great, so the audience never minded, even if they were there to see us. And then so Cheap Trick would go a little bit long, and our first set was, okay, we have to cut you down to half an hour so we can get the second show in on time. So we were the headliners, and we only got to do a half-hour long set for the first show. And then the second show we
Tom
got
Petty.
to do our full set.
Tom Petty.
How do you even get mad at him, though?
Yeah, you can't get mad at Tom
Oh,
Petty.
you can't get mad at
gosh.
Cheap Trick. I was
Rock
standing on the-
royalty. Oh, Cheap
I
Trick
was
as well.
standing
Yeah,
on the
they're-
side
yeah,
of the
they're
stage. The
amazing.
Royal Oak Theater had an orchestra pit, I think it was, and they had monitors for us to hear on the stage, or maybe speakers for the front. I don't even remember, that were in the orchestra pit. And Rick Nielsen is out there standing on these speakers, and some guy who probably was mad that he had to wait to see us was heckling him. And Rick's playing guitar and eating Good and Plenty's, and he just starts spitting the Good and Plenty's at the guy. Never missed a note, but just was right on the beat. So it's da 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 da. Hitting the guy in the face. And Tom Peterson, the bass player for Cheap Trick, runs over to the side of the stage and looks at me. He's like, and it's this is amazing.
And you were still real young, right? I mean,
Yeah, I
you
was
were like 16,
I was
17 year old.
16 during those
Yeah, that's
years. Yeah, that's
crazy.
crazy.
My goodness, to headline at 16, that is insane.
Yeah,
Well, and that kind of leads in.
Oh,
Go ahead, sorry,
I
go ahead.
found a photo today of me, I think, on the way to see the Runaways before I joined. So from like August of 1975. And it was just like, how young I look. It boggles me. It's like, why? How was I in a rock band at that age?
Yeah, that's amazing.
Well, and that brings up a great question to kind of kickstart this. And I was picking a little bit of California because today, for those watching, the NCAA football game comes out, and Dion and I are big sports guys. And UCLA and USC have just joined the Big Ten, so we're now bitter
So
rivals.
wrong. That is
I don't
so
know if you follow
wrong.
sports at all.
I'm sorry.
It is.
Uh,
Yeah, no, I agree. The Pac-10 should absolutely
Talking
still be
football, it's
there.
like, hold on, stop for just a second. Time out. Like, time out. We're talking football with Jackie Foxx.
It's
last
totally
time
it's
I
a big
checked,
deal. So, anyways,
California was on the Pacific. It was
correct.
Pac-10, yes.
Yeah.
They just need to go away with conferences and put them all in one big conference anyway. So they're already starting to do the playoff, which is perfect. Just break them out and
Yeah. Well, and back to it though, Jackie, UCLA obviously was a big place for you because what people don't know is you were actually admitted at a younger age, weren't you, into UCLA for mathematics?
When I was in high school, I wanted to study math. I wanted to get a PhD in math. So I applied for early admission to UCLA and was granted permission to start working on my college degree at the same time as I was getting credit for my last year of high school. So I would have been very, very young when I went to UCLA. But instead, I joined a rock band because it's kind of the same thing, PhD in math.
Well, I was gonna say,
so I bet your parents were
Oh my
ecstatic, weren't they?
God.
No, Mom, I know UCLA, I got to prove Eddie. I'm going to go join this band. And they're
It's worse than that. So my mother was vacationing in Mexico when I got the offer, and I called her up and I said, oh, by the way, I had joined a rock band, and she said, I think one of my parents said, oh, when are you going to give that up? Not even.
yes.
And the other one said, sure, right, okay, we'll discuss. I was like, oh no, I already did it.
We'll discuss when we get back.
Well, and it's kind of an interesting transition for you too, because obviously you bring math in, but you were very interested in like classical jazz.
No.
I think
it's classical music. Not to knock any of you who love jazz, but so rock music, it's basically music of the body, right? It's like you can feel it, you move your body to it, you can kind of turn your brain off, which is how we put up with some of the lyrics that we listen to without thinking about it. Jazz is really mental. It's just, you're thinking about it, you're getting into, your brain is processing these rhythms that aren't that 4/4 or, 3/3 easy to kind of digest. And then classical music, when you really get into it, it's music of the heart. It's music of the emotions. I used to think opera was so stupid. It's like she's taking out, like, die already, die. You're not watching the death in real time. It's that instant before death blown up really big, and all the heartache and loss that you feel as you're dying. Although apparently the person who turned me on to classical music was a former critic for classical music for Time magazine, and he's the one that taught me how you listen to opera and all of this. And then he had a near-death experience. Like, he died and came back.
Wow. While
Not
listening to
listening
opera?
But instead
That'd have been
that
way
he
better.
absolutely felt nothing. Like, he just didn't care. He was so dissociated that he did not care. And
So from what I'm understanding from what you're saying is that death is more like rock and roll and less like
no, I think it's like listening to jazz.
Is it? There's a lot of thinking going on. I got you. I thought he said there was nothing. It was like done. It's
No, I
like the
think
brain
it's like-
dead.
I
So
think
you were
it's
good to
like
go
you're
with like
just
rock and
like-
roll.
Oh, okay, yeah, dying sounds good right about now.
Well, I can't say I haven't been there a couple times.
I just, it's like,
Now, you were-
jazz, it's too much. You're too much work. Other than like, I do like supper club jazz, like when you get a jazz trio that's really nice. But when you get to the serious,
Smooth, yeah.
it's such good music. It's not that I don't appreciate it. It's just my brain's been working all day. Either let me dance or let me
Right.
cry.
Right.
I listen to music, I want to dance or I want to cry. Or I just want to get silly
That's how I felt in the 90s listening to NSYNC.
and say, ooga shaga, ooga.
Make me
Well,
break it again.
And so you kind of had those different interests. So what led you into rock and roll? Was it the rebellious, like, you know what, I'm going to do this because it sounds fun? I think that's kind of what you
I
alluded
think it
to.
was a combination of just loving music so much, and really, and kind of wanting to escape a little bit of a kind of, boring middle class life with a lot of what was expected to me. And honestly, I'm going to tell you guys this. I'm probably not going to talk about this in a lot of other interviews, but a little bit of it was a middle finger to my parents for having parties and cranking
Oh, wow.
loud rock music while I was trying to sleep as a kid. I think there's a part of me that went, oh, you like it loud?
Wow.
Hey, let me show you loud.
Oh, and you girls
Well,
got
since you love
loud.
rock and
We
roll,
went
here you
to
go,
11.
Dad. Now you're
We definitely
proud.
went to 11.
But that's awesome that they enjoy rock and roll so much and kind of influenced you with that, and then you turn around and blare. I mean, what did they think about some of your first albums that you guys put together? Like those, did they like this is good?
No,
Like,
I
were they
wouldn't go
enjoying
that
it?
far.
It's
They
different
came
type
to
of rock and roll.
Listen, they came
Oh,
to
you
the
went okay.
shows. They were really supportive.
Well, you could ask anymore. Yeah.
What,
That's awesome.
when we finally got to headline a pretty decent sized venue in our hometown, and my father came backstage and said, people were putting stuff on the stage, at the front, and people on my amps. And somebody gave me this little teddy bear, and it had a note attached to it that said, Jackie, I really am your brother. It was like, okay. Apparently, while my dad was coming in backstage, there was some guy going, let me in, I'm Jackie's brother. I told my dad, I said, why didn't you walk up to him and go, son?
There you are after all these years. It's a beautiful reunion.
So, yeah, people would say all kinds of
So-
weird stuff to try to get backstage.
Yes, I bet.
Well, to say, so that, that kind of leads into kind of how you started with them, and correct me if I'm wrong, but initially you auditioned for the guitarist, which obviously went to
Lita
someone
Ford.
else that we all know, with Lita Ford, and then they liked you so much,
That's
brought
true.
you back.
They did, and they said, hey, can you play bass? And my response was, I don't know, I can try. And I literally borrowed a friend's bass the night before the audition. I went, how hard can this be? It's just the first string on the guitar. Right?
How hard can this be?
That's
Just the
how
rhythm
everybody
section, it's
started.
fine.
I shouldn't say everybody, but back in the day, like the bass player was the person
Yeah.
who joined the band last. You would always know who joined last because it was either the bass player, it was the lazy person in the band, or it was the person that was really the band's manager. This is famous, like Dana Strum of Slaughter, who grew up a mile from me and knew my sister in high school, became the bassist in the band because he was the band's day-to-day manager, and he just went, I don't want to be on the side of the stage. Nobody pays attention to the manager. I want to be out there and be a rock star and get the girls and the money. And so he just went, I'll play bass.
I mean, it wasn't for the love of the music.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
Next question.
We'll keep it moving.
So obviously, it's well documented with your career that you had. But what I think is so fascinating, Jack, is as you come out of a rock and roll career, you have had quite an experience in life after rock and roll music with all of the endeavors that you've gone to. So you come out and you go back to UCLA.
No, I
you get your
don't right
degree.
away. I go off to
Okay, so
I go
tell
to
us
the
about that.
I go and do record promotion. That was my
Okay.
That was my first thing. I went, I don't want to be, excuse me, in a band, not because I don't want to be in a band, but because female artists did not get a lot of respect.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you broke a lot of those walls that has been wide open. We absolutely understand
I
that.
thought
Your
I'd
group
get
did
a
a lot.
little more respect on the business side of things, and actually it was worse. Because at least when you're the artist, you're the artist. But I mean, it was so bad as an artist. We did a gig with a band called Dr. Hook and the Medicine Show, who had one hit with the cover of the Rolling Stone, and they were staying in a nice hotel because they had made some money. We didn't know our manager was taking all our record company support, so we're in a crummy little hotel where their road crew is staying. But there was a laundry, like self-service laundry in the basement. And after you've been on tour for a while, this just wasn't a thing at hotels back then. So we had a month worth of dirty laundry to do. So I'm down there doing loads of laundry. And one of the roadies for Dr. Hook comes in and he said, "Oh, hey, can you do my laundry for me?"
Oh.
And you
And
said,
what I wanted to say was, "Hey, I'm artist, you're crew." And I just looked at him and I said, "I'd be happy to show you how to do your laundry."
Oh, that's a
No,
better
look at you.
Right.
You're so level up.
yeah, teach a man to fish
You
so
were
he can
sweet.
feed
Yeah.
himself.
I was
Yes.
actually quite
That's
polite
amazing
about
of
it.
you. I could say I would have
I don't
not
think
been.
I would have been,
I
especially at
guarantee I
16.
would not have been at 16, especially at 16. I was
Listen,
way
if
worse.
you're a
Yeah.
16-year-old girl on the road in a basement laundry
Yeah,
by
right.
yourself with some guy,
Yeah.
you're going to be nice to him.
Yeah, absolutely. I
And
know what
especially a roadie, because I think we've all seen some of those from the 70s, and they're quite intimidating.
I'm gonna stand up for roadies here. The roadies were typically way nicer than the bands.
Yeah, that's
Oh, I
good.
totally can believe that
I
too.
can see that.
But that was just kind of like, hey, you're a
So-
woman. Of course you do laundry. And I wanted to say, up yours. I am an artist. You're,
Yeah.
Yes, right.
go do Dr. Hook's laundry.
Go to
Do you feel like it's better for women
hell
artists
yeah.
today?
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
yeah. Right. And a lot of that was because of the struggles from
definitely.
bands like this. I think that now women's artists has it a much better because they fought for it for the past 40, 50, 60, 70 years. They've been
I mean,
fighting for
people-
it. So it's now, I think,
people love
yeah.
to get on Taylor Swift's case, but you don't have a Taylor Swift standing up for the rights of artists, not just female artists, but artists generally, and saying, "Hey, Spotify, you want my songs? You're going to pay your artist a proper royalty." And she got that for every
Yep.
musician in existence. So, right there, you don't have to like Taylor Swift's music, but man, respect.
Yeah, she's doing nobody's laundry, I guarantee.
Bet you.
I guarantee
And
she
I
is
guarantee
doing...
it's not after a month either.
No, it is definitely, her laundry's getting done daily, baby.
Hey, you know
That's
what?
awesome.
Taylor
So what
Swift,
made
if she
you-
doesn't want to do her laundry, who's going to tell her, "Hey, Taylor"?
Yeah, right? I'm not telling her to do her laundry. That's
I say
fine.
she probably just gifts her stuff out after every show.
Yeah,
And,
Yeah, just take it.
I don't need this again.
Sure.
I say, because I mean, even in today's music, I think like especially for women artists, like the K-pop scene is the one I feel you hear the most of women really being significantly mistreated still today, where they're being put through rigorous, working 20 hours a day and 7 days a week. They get no time off, and they have to show up every time with a smile on their face and make every fan feel like they're the most important person for fame and likes, and I feel like that's kind of the place in music that still has had a chance to kind of respect women in the field.
Yeah.
So, Jackie, you went to...
I was going to say, I think
go ahead.
that's South
Sorry, go
Korean
ahead.
culture catching up to ours.
Yes.
But certainly for American and British and Australian artists, Canadian artists, etc., it is so much better. And right now, I think pop kind of rules the charts, and women rule pop.
Yeah. I agree with that. I was just like, how long did you spend in that? You said you went and were promoting records, like a
Yeah.
record promoter, you
And
said
then I
at that
worked
time?
for,
How long did you do that?
well, promoting records, doing music publishing, working for managers.
Okay.
You know, I don't have a good sense of the passage of time. It's just
Yeah.
I literally am now, you know, Paul McCartney, will you still need me? Will you still feed me age? And I don't like, how did that happen? Did it really
Yeah.
happen?
It goes very
It's
quick.
just it feels like
You blink, it's gone.
I
I
was
agree.
doing
Yep.
this stuff yesterday.
Oh wow.
You know, and I know it's like it's not that everything in between doesn't feel real. It's just that hey, look, Einstein said there is no past, there is no future, it's all just now. And sometimes it does feel like that. Like it's all happening at the same time. There's a part of me that's still out there practicing law. There's a part of me that can still do math, but not arithmetic, and as anybody who plays games with me knows, you have to watch my addition, and I will, you know, no, wait, we counted that wrong. I'm that person at the table.
Nice.
That's Dion for us.
No, it's
No,
not. It's
no,
not. For me.
it's not you.
I usually plan it out and then proceed to whip everybody.
Anyway,
with
that
it.
didn't
And
answer
I'm
your
usually
question,
just-
but I did that for a few years
Sorry.
and then realized that I was not getting the respect that I thought I deserved. And I thought, I'm just going to go back to college, get a degree, and you
Gotcha.
know, let's take it from there, see what happens. And I went, and then I finally went to UCLA. I did not study math because math, if you stop doing it, it just like it's hard to catch up. So I went into linguistics because I wanted to answer the question: everybody acquires language, like every human being. But why are we so bad at communicating? And I thought just finding out how language even works, which wasn't understood very well. So I was doing the kind of research and studying that has now resulted finally in large language models. It's just teaching computers to understand, like computers were parsing things too well and nobody could quite get it right. So back when I was in college, we used to play games of the type, you know, the adventure type games where it'd be like, you're in a dungeon, you're in a room with the tiny little twisty passages. You're like, kill troll. What do you want to kill the troll with? Kill troll with axe. And a lot of the, you know, I don't understand that command, which is you feel your blood pressure going up. Now you can sit there and you don't even know if you're talking to a real person half the time. Like, how do I know you're real?
Yeah. Those old text-based games are terrible for kids who couldn't spell, by the way.
Oh yeah.
By the way,
Not that I was one of them. I had a dictionary, but for other
It
kids
is
that I
very
knew.
hard to spell axe. I agree. Come on. Oh,
Uh-oh.
spell axe, quick.
Ooh,
Oh, had a little freeze for me.
How do you
Yeah.
spell axe?
little lag. AXE.
Okay.
Depends on where I'm from. Axe is let me ask you a question. So
That's true. That's true. Oh, you guys just froze. Wait, hang on. We're having tech. We're having tech.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I don't know
We'll
if
edit
you're-
that out.
yeah, we'll edit
Yeah,
all that out.
yeah, that's
We're gonna
While-
blame
while
Dion's
we're-
store
While we're
for that one.
editing out, hold on.
Yes, good call.
this break is brought to you by Geico. Spend $1,500 by.
I'm gonna do that slowly because you do not get me burping on screen. We're friends, but we're not that
Okay,
close yet.
go ahead.
I got you.
But you're still kind
No,
of.
Okay.
we'll
No,
mute
sure.
it out. We'll mute
We'll
it out.
edit it out. You don't get it. Yeah.
Put a picture of a cat up for you.
You say
Any
that
burp.
now. You say that now. That is not legally binding. All right.
I'm not gonna fight her on those words.
Yeah.
Because I will lose.
You'll definitely lose.
So we'll go back. You were talking linguistics, fascinated with the Italian language.
I don't know. It's beautiful. I can't even tell you why. I grew up. I always knew I wanted to go to Italy. I wanted to learn to speak Italian. I taught myself Italian. I literally picked up a book.
Nice.
You know, those things, it's paper. It looks kind of like this, but it's
Whoa.
I've seen those before.
Yeah, those are rare now.
some stuff that looks kind of like a
I like her
game
notes.
board filled with paper. Does that describe the book well? Anyway,
Ah,
yeah. Oh,
Now you got
the
Shay in.
things
Now you
that
got
come
me in.
inside your board game box that nobody ever reads anymore.
that's not true. I'm usually the guy that reads that.
Yeah.
I thought that you use that for like fire, like
Fire.
for
Oh,
you
that
know
was
the,
a- yeah,
the
stay
keep
warm,
warm.
stay
I
warm.
from
spend
Michigan,
so
it gets
much
cold up
time
here.
on my
Right.
rule book.
It's beautiful.
Your
by the
rule
way.
book is
Oh,
amazing.
God, it's
oh,
a good rule
I
book.
got gush a little bit right quick. So when I read your rule book, it said some of the wrong lines of, "Oh, I know this rule book seemed long, but they said the same thing to Stairway to Heaven and to
Bohemian
dang, I can't
Rhapsody,
remember to
Layla.
Bohemian
Rhapsody,
Rhapsody. Yep.
Layla." I was like, "Mwah, I want this game." That was the okay. Had to have that moment because that reminded me of that.
That
Yes.
is true. It's a but yeah.
Well, at least it's not a Chip Theory Games rule book. Those are
Yeah.
notoriously
No,
800
that
pages.
this
So.
was
Or
all
the
me
Lacerda.
saying, you're not going to have to stop and Google a fact, right? I mean, I hate that where people are just like, nobody's going to play the game with a 20-page rule book, so we're going to make it 6 pages. And like games I love, I mean, Pax Pamir, I love. I hate that rule book with a passion. Sorry, whoever wrote it. I don't like saying stuff like
No,
that, but
they're not listening.
I just either like looking through it, looking for an answer. It's not in here. Stop the game. Google it. It's just like I don't want to be in that space. So
Well, and for the benefit of us, we got it early enough that there was nothing on Google if we wanted to Google something.
Right.
And to be fair, the first time we played it, we kind of misunderstood. I did because it's my fault. The candy. How do you use that within the game? I thought you could not take any action with a no candy sign. And so the first time we played it, right? We played it. Not that we
But-
did mess that up a little bit.
Because we went back and we
I-
saw it literally right there.
Yeah, it literally
It's
says it. But
literally-
what happens is there's like little
literally.
red things off to the side that it says it in.
this was this was kind of the one thing in the graphic layout that I thought was confusing. But it's like, this is like I also don't do icons well. So I really thought long and hard about the icons in this game. The stuff that you find great and interesting and attractive or confusing, it might not be what I find to be that way. So every board game, unless it's like I imagine Obsession, which Kayante games. It's just that's it.
Nope,
That's him.
I like
That's
that,
one
yeah.
guy. So maybe he has raging
Yep.
arguments with himself. I don't know. Maybe he looks himself in the mirror and says, "Dan, no one's going to understand this." And then Mirror Dan says, "Yes, they are. It's clear. How would you do it, Dan?" And I don't know. But other than that, every
Yeah.
game you look at is a compromise. And as a
Yes.
designer, you have to
Yep.
pick your battles and say, this is
Yeah.
the hill I'm going to die on, and say, okay, we disagree. We're going to part ways. And DeVere was really, really good. I have to say, they were like, this is going to be your vision, and we are going to help you realize your vision. And there were very few places that we disagreed about things. And there were a couple of battles that I went, okay, I'm not going to win this one. These guys, look, DeVere makes great games.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes.
I think they make a great middle class Euro game, like a mid level Euro game. I think they make almost all their games are. I've not picked up a DeVere game and been upset with it, not once. Some of them, like the Cathedral, as my go to games when I'm teaching. I absolutely agree with you. I think DeVere has one of the best, and unfortunately, they're not as many game stores as they should be. But they have one of the best publishers' names when you see it. Them, Pegasus Spiel. When I want to play a good Euro, mid-level Euro, those are the companies that I'm like, oh, this is going to fit right into where I want it. And I agree. I think DeVere and you were great partners. And I was very happy when I heard that DeVere was going to do it. So
not as happy as
I'm very
I
glad
was.
that you worked with him very well. Yeah, I bet. And I mean, I did video game development for 12 years before this, and I've only been in this industry 3.5, 4. Video game development is very similar to game development, to where you have to pick your battles on what you really want to see in the game and what you really just want to go, okay, I won't fight you on this. You win. but you're going to give a little to me when I really want this other thing because I'm very passionate about this thing. So you give and take a little, and that's any good partnership.
Where they
That's
did
good.
push back was really smart, because one of the things, my prototype had full size, poker size cards, and nothing was on the board. So it was like you just were adjusting it to your space. But they went, no, you know what? We're going to do this so that if you don't have a large table, you can still play this game and everything's going to fit. We're going to put as much as possible on the board, and it'll be easier to set up.
I do like
Because
the way everything fits on
setup
the
time
board.
can take a little while with this. I mean, not a huge amount. You have to just organize it when you put it away, and organize it the first time. And I'm going to see if I can find somebody to 3D print me a little box that'll fit right in the way I store things. I have the measurements worked out,
Insert.
and it's just like, give me this little box, but with some dividers, and it will be 2 seconds to set this game up.
And that's one of the things I would say, the only negative I can say about Devere, in every game that they have, their inserts are not great, if they do have them, and some of them don't even have inserts. And the put away and take out is probably the worst experience with Devere, one of the worst experiences with Devere. Other than that, the game, once you get it to the table, every game I play of theirs is like, this is great. I'm so happy I played this game.
I understand why they did it. We were completely on board with this. I wanted this game to be accessible to people who just love and miss the 70s and haven't played board games when they were a kid. But if you talk to them, they'll say, I love board games. And it's like, oh, what's your favorite? And Risk, Monopoly, Sorry. And it's like, okay, cool. Have you played a more recent game? And they just don't, I don't think understand how immersive an experience it can be. And so I wanted the game to be something that people who like Euros would enjoy playing, but one where the theme was logical enough and could pull you in, that you could maybe go above your comfort level a little in games. Because I watched this with one of the guys in my regular gaming group at the time. Had a wife who would rarely play games with us unless we decided to play a party game of some sort. And I walked in one night to play with them because they're playing the Harry Potter game where you're battling the opponents, the deck building one. There's been so many Harry Potter games.
Yes.
Hogwarts Battle. Is it Hogwarts Battle? I think it is. And it's like, as we're playing this game, I looked at her. I said, you're playing a fairly a complex real board game, not just a party game. And she was just so drawn in by the theme. It was Harry Potter. She loved Harry Potter, and it made sense to her thematically, everything that we were doing. And that's when the light bulb kind of went on over my head. That if you make something that is truly thematic and you feel like you're doing the thing, you can play a game that's way more complex than you would otherwise be comfortable with.
I'll tell you, some of my favorite games recently, I'm a heavy gamer. Like, I do Lacerda.
So am I.
Lacerdas are like big gamer. Okay, so I'm a heavy gamer. I mean, I like, On Mars, Lisboa, those are some, Weather Machine. Those are the ones I like to put on the table. But it's also, to get people to that level, you need games like this.
Or you need
because games like this, well, no, I disagree. This is I was joking with the guys before, and I said, one of my go-to worker placements is Flamecraft to teach worker placement, right? But it's cutesy. It's got dragons. This is a step above that, but it's also for the adults, right? Like, this is an adult. Instead of the cutesiness, you get to be a hard rock star, and you get to try to be. And it's worker placement. I'm learning how to do worker placement. It's very simplistic worker placement, but there is some deeper strategy there. And based on when you get good enough, the setup becomes a lot of the strategy, because who do I pick as my rock star? How do I team it well with my manager? How do I? So a lot of that in the beginning, I think, helps deeper for the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth replay value of it. And I think the replay value is very high on your game. So I've got to congratulate on all of that, because I can't imagine what it took to get where it's at. Yeah, right. Shay kind of knows. He designs as well, so he understands the struggles in a point. But So to be able to have a finished product and play that as well as it did, you could throw out the inserts, you could throw out the box, you could throw out the art, and still the game itself can stand on its feet. So that's congratulations to you. I think you did a great job. And this comes from a heavy Euro gamer. So it's nice to have games like this to get my friends involved in it and then go, oh, you like that one? Next week we're playing viticulture. Next week we're playing, slowly get them into the role of like, Lacerda. They're like, yeah. But you have
Here's
to
this
start
4-hour
somewhere,
video
right?
to watch.
Yeah, no, stop. Well, the last one was pretty rough.
Thank you for that. It's interesting because the first reviews that have come out have been from people who typically like heavier games, and they're like, "We love this game. Maybe the one thing we don't like is some of the randomness." And it's like, but
Yeah, I agree.
But I'm gonna give you the counterpart of that, which is you're having first of all, when I remember driving to a show. We were going to open for Bob Seger. I don't know why. It wasn't really a good bill, but we were opening for Bob Seger. We had to drive all night in these little rental cars to get there. So we're awake, and we got in at like 7 a.m, and we were just going to get 3 hours sleep before we had to do some interviews and sound check. And we drag ourselves awake at 10 a.m, and then are greeted with the news. Bob Seger's drummer was in an accident last night, broke his arm, gig is canceled. So people, they're saying, I spent this whole round planning to get to this thing. It is because this is what life was like as a rock star, and I want you to feel it. But
no, and I appreciated it
that.
much more the second time I played it. The first time I played it, what was my complaint?
It was too random. That
was the first playthrough. I felt like I liked the game, I liked the worker placement, love the graphics, love the pieces, love the box, love the art, love how everything felt. And I enjoyed playing the game. But I said I hate the randomness. I hate the fact I got to roll a dice. I hate the fact that I have to push my luck. And I'm using air quotes because it's kind of pushy lucky.
You can play.
But I know. But you kind of have to if you want to be successful in the game. You should watch our playthrough. I killed these guys.
Well, he won. I mean, kill is a strong word.
But here's the thing.
Was it? I think I went around the board.
As you learn what the events are and you start to know them, you'll know. Yeah. I have not seen this event. I'm planning this whole thing so that I can complete my set and get the bonus in the next round. But I haven't seen that card that makes it impossible to hang out. What's my B plan? Because that's the thing you need as a rock band. You need flexibility, and you'll get past the flavor text after you've played it a few times. The first few times, it's there for your amusement. Hopefully, it's amusing.
Loved it. It was. I loved it. I still was reading them out loud. I enjoyed them. I thought they were great.
And I personally, I love randomness that makes sense in the game. I love, and you're not gonna know what happens in the club. There's no way you can figure out that. That's gonna be random little deep to that.
Because you know that if you're going to Hoover's, you're probably not gonna get lucky. You're gonna get
fair. No, it's fair.
Well, I didn't know that. I had a lot of hookups in mine. I don't know about you guys. I was killing it.
You kept
romance away.
Backstage
I can't remember the name right now.
Yeah, backstage. Is that where all the hookups were? Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I went heavy
on. If you go to
on.
Bud's, you're there largely because you're meeting business people. It may not happen, you may not get that business advantage, but you're more likely to. So you're also kind of looking, and you might need to hate draft a manager from somebody playing a particular player where I'm not going to tell you. I'll let you discover that on your own. To not.
No, and that's what I was saying about the strategy level. It becomes more strategic the second, third, fourth, fifth playthrough when you realize what you're telling us now, that you're only, Bud's, all the romance is happening backstage. You're going to get very romancy texts with that, and it's going to help you in certain areas. After so many playthroughs, you realize that, so you kind of know where you got to go to get what you need.
If you read the rule book, it's in there too.
Yeah, we did read the rule book, but I mean, most people, as you're playing through, and it even's when you're trying to collect it, when you're trying to do collection. So you kind of, that's really in a gamer's mind. I go here, I got to get this other set. Where in reality, I kind of stayed away from, did a few sets, but I still in-game rewards that benefited me more romance than anything else, and so I constantly going backstage to make sure
Right.
I got those romance cards. And plus, my manager let me level something else up immediately, so I got to be able to utilize a good broken system, not broken, a good game mechanic system. I got to be able to utilize that for my benefit. So I agree with what you're saying. The first time you play it, it feels very random.
You also got to.
But after you've played it a couple times,
You know this.
after you've seen what
You sometimes are like, okay, this is not the optimal move for me, but it's taking away a really optimal move for my opponent. So I got to do something that's less than optimal to be the one that comes out on top.
Yep.
Especially in the promotional area.
Yeah. Well, and they said this, when you start in the third, the fourth, the fifth playthrough, you realize the randomness is still there, but then it's more of a push your luck element that you have to play with, not the randomness of where you're going, because you kind of got an idea what you're going to get out of that area. But the first time you play it until you realize that, it does feel that way. Just heads up. So a lot of the reviews you are getting are probably first playthroughs, maybe two, and then that's max, right? And that's understandable because of what they don't understand the full game with two playthroughs.
All I know is that I look, I want some candy. People keep giving me sugar-free candy. Like I'm like, can I get? I want.
I want more actions, and he kept Porsche. If you ever watched the playthrough, Porsche kept drawing.
I think he got
sugarless candy.
Sugarless candy. I think he got three of them.
That's a bummer. But on the other hand, your craving's not going up, so it's really it's costing you probably one if you do it right, like because buying candy is usually going to put you going early in the next round. So you may have to go and do that, and it's not wasting an action to draw that card.
Yeah, you go buy candy at night.
If I go
and then
buy
it puts
candy
you
at
in the
night,
morning.
that'll put me in the morning. But see, usually I got to work.
Yeah,
and that's
usually work.
That's
That damn
Work
work.
always got in the way.
That
doesn't it?
work.
And
That's my life right
sometimes
there.
you're just like, again, this is like, I'm not going to tell you all the strategy. I will tell you.
No, it's
Sit
great.
down with you. There is a good. Let's look. You have a 1 out of 8 chance of drawing that sugarless candy card, and it represents something. But I'll let you figure it out. It basically represents you. You're going from town to town. Maybe there's a candy you like. Your brand isn't available. You get a different brand. It doesn't have as much sugar in it. It doesn't do anything.
And then you could spit Mike and Ike's at people or whatever it was. That not Mike and Ike's. What was it? He was spitting at people.
So,
you can do that.
You know,
No, I'm just kidding.
yeah.
Yeah.
You're not getting what you need.
I'm with you.
That's all I'll say.
So Jackie, for you, obviously having the background you did, when did your love of games start? Because, like I said, you're talking about somebody who was, familiar with math. You go into a rock band, you go into promotions, you just for fun get a JD from Harvard to have a law degree. So when does the love of gaming start for you? Is that something from a kid? Or?
I realized I designed my first game when I was maybe 8. I will tell you, it was more of an activity than a game. But the first game I ever designed was called Car Off the Road. It consisted of my sister and me running in circles around the living room, and then when the urge took us, we would hurl ourselves onto the sofa and scream, "Car off the road, car off the road," and then the other person would have to come and repair us so we could get back up and start running around again.
So dexterity game. A little bit of work. No, I'm sorry.
Sorry, we have a big
more of an activity than a game. But we were playing. We played games from. I mean, I grew up. My parents were bridge players. My family was cribbage players. We played a lot of cards. I still remember sitting with my maternal grandmother when I was a kid, and she was having her vodka in the afternoon, and we'd play a game called, with the lovely title of Spite and Malice. It is. I need to steal that title, right? From it's a old card game, and we'd sit there and play. And so, that was our family activity, and it was something nice because when you like, what I love. We're in a period right now, right, where everybody is so divided and against each other. But when you like, go to a
Absolutely.
con and you sit down at a board game table with somebody, you don't say, "Wait, don't sit down. Who did you vote for in the last election?" We don't say, "Prove to me, what your gender is and what your you just it's like, hey, cool. Do you like this type of game? This is what this game is. Does it feel like something you want to play? Cool. Let's play." And everything else disappears.
Yes.
And that and just our sense of it's like I think some of it is because we don't make any money competing against each other. So there's the nastiness that you see. Like my sister is she's got a World Series of poker bracelet. She is a world class poker player. And at the beginning, I sat down and was doing some poker events with her, and I just like the toxicity at some of these tables when you get into money on the line is just terrible. So I love competition. I mean, I think that's kind of hardwired into us. But do things like trivia, and you're not on a game show. There's nothing in it but bragging rights. So there's less incentive to cheat, to do unfriendly trash talk. I mean, friendly trash talk.
Yes.
People, my gaming group knows that I will whip out the hand signals at them when they've done something particularly awesome for them, and also that I don't really mean it. Right? It's
She meant this one.
yeah,
Right,
that
yeah,
one.
that one.
That one.
Yeah, that
No,
one.
no.
There's that,
That
love,
one, yeah, it was
love.
Because my wife hates when I do that. That just reminds me because I feel good about it.
It's
She's like,
oh, you did, and I'll be there
It
going,
just really
don't
reminded
do it.
me.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Oh,
Yes.
oh,
Yeah,
you
well,
did
Well,
it.
I have
It's on.
I have Jackie, I have a feeling you were always picked first for Trivial Pursuit, weren't you?
No, I wasn't very good at it because I had seriously weak categories. Like I was smart, but
Oh, okay.
there's a difference between being smart and knowing these little things. So it was like anything else. It's like you basically have to train at it in some way. I mean, if you're just doing it casually, like you're in a restaurant and it's their trivia night, okay, that's fun. But if you kind of want to do it regularly, the same stuff sort of comes up. So you go out to a pub with your friends and you do trivia night, but you do it a lot and you get good at it. And then I also, here, I'll show you this. This is, I have a new setup. So
Behind the
So
scenes.
there's my bookshelf. That is,
Is that
no,
Encyclopedia
that is the
Britannica's there?
Oxford English Dictionary, sitting right next to
Oh, wow.
all the Harry Potter books. You can see I've got books on Beethoven. I've got my foreign language stuff, the big dictionaries. There's some pop culture stuff. There's a lot of history. Most of the history books are in the cabinet below. But it's just I have this insatiable curiosity about life. So
Yeah. Well, and for those who don't know, Jackie was a multiple-time winner, I
Yeah.
think 4-time winner of Jeopardy. That's why I was asking that question.
Yeah. I figured it had something to tie in. I was shutting my mouth while you did it.
Is it safe to say Alex Trebek better with a mustache?
different, and there's
He was better with a
Hey,
mustache. It wasn't the same when he
Alex
shaved
Trebek
it off.
was great no matter how he was. The only thing he wasn't great with was pancreatic cancer. Oh, I just brought this way down, didn't I?
Yeah.
It's okay.
Good job, Jackie. Way to, no.
You can take a drink. And this is not Pepsi over here.
That's
This is the
me.
hard stuff.
Yeah.
So obviously, kind of having the interesting games through the early years of your life. What was kind of the motivation at this stage of life to say, I want to make my own board game?
I had 5 people in my regular game group, and usually, 4 of us would show up. Somebody always had something to do. And that rare,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
and
called a
that
great
rare
group.
time All 5 people were there. This is pre-pandemic. It's like, what are we going to
Mm-hmm.
play? We can't split into 2 groups because that's a 2-player game and a 3-player game. And anyway, we're here to hang out. We're
Mm-hmm.
here not just to play board games, but also to hang out with each other. So we look at my shelf and it's like, oh, we're going to play the Year of the Dragon again. It's like that's a game that not everybody warms to because you're just fending off disaster after disaster. It's a really well designed game, but it's not a game that gets people really excited now, right? So it was kind of
Yeah.
like, why aren't there any games that are basically, strategy based but that have that fun factor that you get with American style games? It's like, and that will play 5 people. It's like, why doesn't this game exist? And I just went, you know what? It's not on my shelf. I'm going to put it there. And
Wow.
it's
Nice.
like people will still ask me, you need to do a memoir. And I don't think I do because I have anecdotes and there's no, like, a story really needs a beginning, a middle, and an end. And for rock musicians, that's usually means a drug problem because, every episode of VH1's Behind the Music, with one exception, was
Yes.
the band was going great. Their career was at the top. They had everything. And then someone gets drugs,
And then
they
it
crash, they
happened.
break up,
Then they found
and then
candy.
triumphant reunion, right? It's like, it's
Yes.
every story. And mine doesn't fit that narrative. It doesn't have a good narrative for a book. So
I,
I just went, but I still have stories to tell.
yeah, I'm about to say,
Yes.
I was going to cut you off for a minute. I'm sorry. But some of the things that you just shared in the beginning, just the stories, I was completely intrigued. And I would listen or read, I'd listen to audiobooks, so I probably wouldn't read it because I'm lazy. But I
Just busy.
would-
You're not
yeah,
lazy.
yeah,
You're
well,
busy.
That too. We're going to say that.
Yeah.
Anyway, and just hearing those stories, like I never knew the Runaways opened for
Eh,
and
eh,
I'm
eh,
45, so I'm gonna
Other
like
way around, other way
open
around.
and no, you'd open. I'm sorry, you closed for
Headline.
cheap headline.
She headlined.
You headlined the show.
Headlined.
There you go.
That's right. You headlined the show for Cheap Trick and one of the greatest artists ever. But
Bob Seger?
no, so.
No, it was.
And you have stories of the
Michigan.
road and how that fit. So I can understand why people would want to hear your story because there's stories there that not many people would, that not many people would not listen to. That's what I'm saying. So I push you. I agree with all your friends. If you have friends telling you this, I agree with anybody else. You should definitely write something of your experience of being on the road, or even the experience of what you faced as a woman struggling, trying to push to the next level of like, hey, I'm going to promote this album, or I'm going to be an album, because I know what I felt we did wrong or what I can do better. Because obviously that's probably where your mindset was. I'm going to go do this because I think I can do a good job at it. And what some of the things you ran into, like I'm already intrigued. I would listen to it hands down. So even if you did a memoir podcast, hey, there you go. I would listen to it. You got to listen.
I'm
Thumbs up.
listening. I will never say never. But I will say that something that people don't really know about me. Actually, Alex Trebek kind of asked me this. He said, "Oh, you were a lawyer. You were Malibu Barbie. That's a different story. You were." You're
Yeah.
a lawyer.
I was going to ask you
No,
about
you're
that,
a rock
but
band. And he said, how do you make this transition? And I said, I just get bored easily, I guess. But it is kind of like the Eddie Van Halens of the world, right? They are the guys who, because when you're learning guitar, it's really hard at the beginning, right? And then you start to get the hang of it, you get the building blocks, and you get better really fast. And then you get to a certain point of being good, but even if you're talented, you kind of plateau a little. And so you're to get beyond that, it's incremental gains. And you have to be the kind of person that can sit in your room and play a guitar solo over and over and over to eke out those little instrumental gains. And I'll get up there and I'm like, okay, you know what? I climbed that hill. What's the next hill I can climb? Because it's that that is kind of exciting, and there's so much I want to do. There's so much. So
Yeah.
I feel
And not everybody's built that way. Like you're built different. That's why I'm saying it's interested to hear how, like, the things that you've done. I mean, when I'm reading some of the past stuff that you've accomplished, Jeopardy, lawyer, mathematician. I mean, these are amazing. Like anybody would love to have one of those and be good at it, right? Any one of those, just one in their lifetime, and you've accomplished multiple things and said, "Yeah, that's good. I'm going to go do this." Which is crazy. That's not, people aren't built that way. Just so we're clear, you're
I've
built
written a
different.
couple of books. I know how hard it is, and it's like I kind of feel like though I've told these stories. Like I want to go do the
Okay.
next. So then, like I've got
Yeah.
games
Uh-huh.
that are set in different eras that really interest me, and I get to go do a deep
Nice.
dive and make them interesting and accessible and
Nice.
more whole. That like that fascinates me. There's just
That's
stuff that is like I feel like I want to do something new, learn something new. So that's kind of what motivates me. You guys wanted to know who I
nice.
am. I am somebody who
Yeah.
quests for info and learning who we are and where we've been, and so I love history. It just really fascinates me. Um, but I also like to hear how people imagine our futures.
Yes.
Although,
And I think that comes with age a lot, right? Like, I mean, as I'm getting older, those things I'm interested in as well because it flew by so fast. And then now you're looking back and going, all of these things that have happened, why did they happen? And why did we go, why is this, why are we where we're at right now? And then what can we do different in the future? How do we see our future? I'm 1000% on board with you here. Cause my age gets older, I feel the same. And I think that
I
comes with
think
age
that's
with most
true. I think
people.
it also comes with how we are taught history. Like to me, I always thought history was
Yes.
you have to memorize these dates and
Yes.
it never felt like it was about real people. And to some extent, that's because they start teaching history too young. You don't have any framework when you're in third grade to be, like we were taught about Christopher Columbus discovering America and sitting down and having, making all happy with the indigenous people who were here first. And that's not quite the story. You know,
Yes.
it's and
Yep.
it's like it's very much cherry picking that story. Um, it's like have any of you read The Wager? It's a book about an, a 19th century shipwreck, and these people these like first of all you learn what it was like on a ship in the 19th century and and they're trying to get around the coast of South America because the Panama Canal was you know far in the future, and they picked the wrong time of year, and there are these like you cannot believe any ship could even get through these things, and eventually they did shipwreck, and the like years went by and two different groups survived and they told vastly different tales of not of like how they had survived and how hard it was to eat and all that, but like this little thing that you don't really care about, which is these starving people. Was there a mutiny or was it justified? And it's like, you guys were all starving. Somebody stole provisions and the captain shot somebody. You're focused on whether it was a mutiny rather than the fact that there were indigenous people there who came and saved your asses and showed you how to survive there, brought you food, and you're still looking down on them as these ignorant barbarians, and you're not questioning your sense of your uh, like you're just assuming this superiority. And hello, and I
Hmm.
just think we do that with our own culture, and we assume people on the other side of things are wrong. And
Yes.
Abraham Lincoln, who I think everybody agrees was our greatest president ever, had people of both parties in his cabinet because he didn't want to just hear yes. He wanted to know what am I not seeing here? What's the argument? What's the counter argument? Let me really think this through and hear both sides of it. And I do think we don't listen well. And this kind of ties back to my my pursuit of linguistics. Why do we all speak the same language and communicate so badly? Oh, I just brought this room down again.
No. We're listening.
I
are
am
very
intrigued.
intrigued.
I'm zoomed
You
in.
started this off saying that you kind of, everybody said you were a teacher. You're teaching us right now.
And to bring to bring it back kind of around, I started Voss Media Board Game Cafe for the exact same reason that you stated, that when you can walk in, when someone walks into I have a store. I have about 10 tables. They're all board game tables like you see here. We have over 1,650 different board games you can pull right off the shelf and play. We have people with shirts that are game masters that can teach you games. So they would say, hey, have you tried Jackie's new game? Let me throw that on the table for you. And they get you to play the game. And then they're like, yeah, I like this. Well, great. It's on the other side. You can purchase it on your way out, or you can come in anytime and play it. And we hold over 65 events based on that. But my goal is when you walk in the door, it doesn't matter, like you said, who you voted for. It doesn't matter race, sexuality. None of that matters. All that matters is you came in to sit down and escape all of that, because this horrible world that we live in, that is things that are going on that we have no clues going on in this world, none of it matters. We're here to play a nice game, and I'm just happy that you're sitting at the table with me, and there's a person here that's willing to share this experience with me. And yes, we're competitive. I'm going to kick your butt, but we're going to enjoy each other's company and laugh and joke and maybe have conversations and go from there. That's why I built this place, and I'm different than any other board game store I've ever been into. I like that atmosphere, and I'm big on that atmosphere. So I'm 100% with you on why you got into board gaming, and that is brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Well, and that's where I think I kind of bringing this back into it, Jackie, is I think you put so much of your own experience, which you said earlier was your biggest focus with all of this, and you can just feel the flavor of this game literally oozing out all the way down to your little tongue-in-cheek comments in the rule books, as Shay brought up earlier. Obviously, the little jabs at the managers that they're not really all that important and all. And I think that was something that I walked away when I played Rock Hard 77 was anybody I know in my life who had the enjoyment of this theme. This to me is an absolute must add to their collection, because it's so thematic from the different stages of the day. I laughed out loud a few times with some of the cards that were pulled. And obviously, as you said earlier, that was you and sharing your experiences and giving those things, and just the three different the phases of the game, from needing the sugar in the morning to wake up a little bit, and or detoxing, depending on how bad the previous night was.
Yes.
All the way down to the hangout spots, in the third phase of the game, which was kind of the after hours of, hey, if you want to be a real nerd, go to bed. You get to go first, but everyone's going to make fun of you for doing that. And, I just think that was so amazing. So with that said, putting so much of your soul into this, did you enjoy this process to the point where, as you said, you're always kind of looking to take that next step? Is this the first step for you, or do you think there's more coming?
I know there's more coming, because it's
Hey,
there it is. We got breaking news.
There are people who can design, just crank out 5-6 games a year that are really good. I'm not one of them. I'm somebody that puts a lot of thought into that game. I would rather do one game every couple of years and have them be games that I think aren't out there, that aren't repetitive, because I love good, big, meaty Euros, and there are so many good ones that come out every year. I have to ask myself sometimes, what is this adding to my life that isn't already sitting on, especially with the more complex stuff, which is harder to get to the table. Lisboa is maybe my favorite game of all time. I love it. When I said, you have to be an idiot like me, it's because I think the third time I went to a board game meetup and got into real modern board games, I saw that on the table, and I went over and I said, I have to play
it's beautiful.
this game.
Oh,
I just looked at it and I went, this is calling to me. And the next time,
have you played his new one, Inventions? Have you tried Inventions yet?
I've been in design mode, and
it's really good. Yeah.
But I think, and here's how welcoming the people in this board game, these strangers, were to me, is that the next time I walked in there, they had saved, and they had brought Lisboa. They saved me a place, and just, and I was getting over being sick. I remember this, and they said, we saved you a place, and I said, I don't think I can do this today, but save me one next time, and we'll play it. And I had no idea, like that is a really hard game to jump into when you're kind of new.
Well,
but I'm just like, okay.
Yes.
And then I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I got really badly beaten, and I still loved the experience because, in part, I could tell that for Vital, that was a deeply personal game about his city and his city's history, and it meant so much to him. And I could feel what had happened to Lisbon after this earthquake and rebuilding the city and having to suck up to the nobility and the royals. And so I love a Euro that has theme that isn't just painted on and can't be about anything else. Even though
So why didn't Ian O'Toole do your art? Is what I want to know. I'm just kidding. I love who done it, but Ian O'Toole.
Foundry did it, and they are great. And I have to give a shout out to Robert of Arcane Wonders, even though this is not their game. Robert has been in there helping me, and he and his wife Julie, who works for Van Ryder, they looked at the board, the original layout, and they kind of went, oh, this scoring track is a missed opportunity. You can make it look like a keyboard. And it was like, oh my God. So they so many people gave me really great help and feedback.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be honest, Jennifer Geiner, she did a really good job with the art on it.
Ginet.
It's very rock.
She
What's that?
pronounces it Ginet.
Janae. Oh, it looks like
her
Jennifer.
last name.
Yeah, Janae.
Janae.
Yeah.
Oh, Janae.
Yep.
Jennifer
Right.
Janae. Gotcha.
Okay.
I kept saying Geiner, so I apologize to Jennifer. But I love it. It looks like a Rock Band art. You ever played that game, Rock Band? It's on like an Xbox. Or, I don't know.
Did you ever play the game?
Did you ever play the game?
Okay.
No, she just did the real one.
Yeah. The game Rock Band, not the real one, not the fake guitar. You can jam out to a real one, but it kind of gave me that feel, which I loved, by the way, because I'm nostalgic for that game because you can't play it right now unless you have like all the old equipment. So I'm nostalgic for the game, and then this game pops out with the same like the picture on the side, with feels very much in that same genre or area of art. So I think she did a great job. I'm very happy. I'm very happy with the way it looks.
And she is really young. She wasn't even born. I mean,
Oh, wow.
the 70s is like, she didn't know the difference between the 70s and the 90s. So it was seriously, this was a crash course and I kept sending David at DeVere photos of female musicians in, like, I was like going, kimonos, we flowed. And it like, because her instinct was to draw everybody in these tight form-fitting clothes, because she does a lot of really cute stuff. She also does some very sexy stuff, and so her instinct was to make tight clothes. And it's like no. Guys were basically, none of them were wearing shirts. They were wearing vests, or the shirts were she did get this for the cover. The cover is very Robert Plant, and Robert was notorious for wearing women's shirts that were too small for him on stage, so they'd be unbuttoned. The rumor was that it was the clothing of whoever he had hooked up with the night before. He would take a blouse.
Okay. Well,
Rumor or
know.
rumor?
Yeah.
I met Robert Plant once, and we discussed hair. And he gave me
nice.
the best advice I never listened to, which was don't cut your hair. And I did, and that was kind of a disaster.
Nice.
It's this the thing Dion and I are trying to do too, but apparently we're too tall for our hair.
Yes.
So,
well, I need to stay.
yeah. I always joke I'm 6'1", but my hairline's only 6 foot, so nothing you can do about that.
Here.
So I only have a couple more. I have a couple more questions here for you in regards to this. So again, as a first-time developer, what were some of the decisions and the difficulties that you went through when you were trying to calculate just how the game would play, the numbers for the spaces, the dollars that things would cost, the pros and cons? I mean, there's so much math, right? So that's where I was going to kind of bring this up with your mathematical background. I feel like a worker placement like this, where every space costs you money, gives you perks and benefits. How much balancing did you spend, and what were the decisions that went into a lot of those thoughts?
There are designers that really math their things out, and I kind of feel with those games, I don't want to feel like it's math and it's just meaningless. So I did not think about. Are you guys there?
Yeah.
Yes.
We had another freeze. Just checking. It's hard to tell if So anyway.
Sometimes we just sit really still.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you know what? I used to do this with people on Zooms where I'd go.
And there's our thumbnail for this video.
No.
I would like to welcome people with that because I can do that. And
Yes.
I don't know, but I have a little practical sensibility to me. So yeah, nothing ever mean, but yeah, I kind of like to do that. Anyway, back to math. So I don't know how to do code anymore. I don't know how to do any of this, but so it was done by feel, and it was really balanced through a lot of play testing. Like I will sit there and I will play test my own game, dozens of times with every variation that I can think of, and kind of go, okay, there's this. Then you take it out for play testing, and ideally you put it in front of one of these people who just looks at a game and knows how to break it. And you're like, here, break my game. And then you see where somebody where something might not be in balance, and you bring it back into balance. And then you play test it a bunch more until nobody's figuring out a dominant strategy. And then you're kind of like, and it feels right. There's a little sense of, when you get it right. And then you get closer to the publication date, and your publisher says, oh, hey, we'd like to change this.
No. 16-year-old Jackie comes out and she says, not today, Rhodey.
No, I did. You had this really great idea that it's like, okay, so the amps go to 11. It's like, maybe it shouldn't be so easy to push your amp from 10 to 11. So I was like instantly, oh God, 70s, everybody had overdrive pedals. So I'm going to put in a thing with overdrive pedals, and you have to have an overdrive token to discard to push your amp from 10 to 11. It was such a cool idea. But ultimately,
awesome.
They also wanted the game shorter because it was originally 12 rounds. It was a full year. Yeah. We essentially ended up doing a sort of like, think of it as prelude, right? It's baked into the game.
Yes.
I had to give up my favorite decision in the game to do that. You're talking about what do you sometimes you have to kill your darlings, as they say, because at the beginning, your first money, you could either spend it getting a manager, or you could spend it on that demo to get a record deal. And it was such a hard decision. So starting with a manager kind of changed that, but I agreed because you can AP over this a little bit. Sorry for those who are new, analysis paralysis, when you're trying to decide what to do, especially if someone's taken the space you really wanted. So
I think that's what I like about it, though. I mean, that's what I like about most worker placements is I have a strategy. You just screwed up my strategy. Now I have to figure a new strategy, and I have to do it rather quick because I don't want everybody at the table pissed at me. So I have to kind of figure it out. And I think I like creating the plan, creating the backup plan, and creating the backup of the backup plan, and then watching my back up of my back. That's what I love about board games. I mean, I want to get so lost that the rest of the world around me dies, and I'm a rock star, man, and I'm going to figure this out, right? So I think I enjoy that, and I think you've hit that on the mark. I felt after the first couple rounds we were smoking through it, right? Like we were going good. Yeah. The second time through, the second playthrough, but not only the second playthrough, but after just a couple rounds.
Oh yeah, we
were like, I think we even forgot to move the round marker once because we were just smoking right through the series, right? Because we were letting each other do what we want to do. We weren't really worried about everybody at the table during the second playthrough. We were so focused on us. So that's where the extra strategy comes in. But I think you hit the head on the nail with it, giving you not creating a lot of that analysis paralysis, right? I think you did enough to where there's enough things to do that you're just trying to, and it's always like, man, he took that spot, but I really need to turn up my song lyrics anyway, so screw it, I'll just go write a song, or I'll just do that. So it was enough there that I don't think it affected that.
What I actually heard Jackie say was overdrive pedals. Next expansion, next year,
expansion over. Yeah, that's what I hear. Overdrive
Gen Con 2025.
There we go. Gen Con 2025.
It could be.
No.
Here's one of the things that I didn't want to put in the game because it's a mechanism I don't personally like, and a lot of people I know don't like, which is take that. So there's no take that.
Yes. I agree.
There's none. There's not even much negative that happens to you really in this game. There are a few.
You're kind of doing your own thing. You got to go out of the way to stop somebody else. Like you really have to go out of your way to know their strategy and shut it down.
Yeah, but that's worker placement, right? Where it's just like I'm gonna go to this club, and you went in there. I'm gonna come in after and make a bigger entrance and a bigger stink hello, and then I'm just gonna breeze out before you and wake up early and do this thing. Or you think you're getting a record deal? Nope, I'm gonna go to bed early so I can do that in the next round, and I don't care that you just did this, took the more expensive demo studio to get that better quality demo. I'm going to bed early and waking up before you and getting that. And everything represents something like real in music. But my original vision for this game was, because first time designer-itis, was very complex, where things really fed into each other and were kind of circular, which is what happens in complex games. And then I went, no, you know what? I want to make this a game that you can sit down and maybe pull in somebody who would find this game too complex, but for the fact that the theme is making you know what musicians do. You can wrap your head around, I'm going to interview to improve my reputation. I'm going to rehearse and improve my skill level. I'm going to write a song. And at night, I'm going to go play a gig, because that's what you do at night when you're a musician, and you can understand.
Or try to hook up at some of the bars.
That's after hours.
It becomes very like, oh, this is logical. And there aren't, you're pretty much all racing to do the same thing. And I will say that this is a game of timing. That's what you are when you're a bass player. It's all about timing. So this isn't really about doing a particular thing, or it's about when you do it. And you can very much, you do that going to bed early or taking one of those anytime actions at the right time, and you will just, that's what it's about. But you don't have to have any active take that, even though I did say you might want to draft the manager. But but there is so much that you can do in the take that space for people who like it. So that will be like a mini expansion, right? Where you just have an extra action that you can do, which is to scheme. And it'll be like you call up the record company because you know somebody's going there, and you say, so-and-so has to cancel their meeting with you, and then you take that space, right? So it's just be like the next time somebody goes to, you can bump somebody from the record company and cancel their meeting. You can just go, oh, wow. No, you're not doing that action.
So it sounds like my wallet hurts because I'm gonna pre-order that expansion. It hasn't came out yet, but I'm
you're
gonna
gonna pre-order?
pre-order it
Gotcha.
like in
We just
advance
talked
because I'm
though
down.
about how much game DeVere put in this for this price point.
Oh, no. That's what
Right.
I was going to tell you.
Yes.
That even though it didn't, I kind of beat up on it in the
Well, I
beginning
I
about
think
not
that's where
having
the no inserts ties
yeah,
into
the
this
no
is lowering the cost
inserts,
of
the organization of
package.
it. They really didn't include enough baggies. I feel I had to add extra baggies to put it away the way I wanted to put it away. So that was the only when our review comes out, those are the only low scores the game gets. However, in value, like what you get for what they put in there,
huge.
oh my gosh!
Oh, it's
So and then I rebuttal with if you spend more money, then you're going to pay more for the game. So then you brought it into a reasonable retail value, very reasonable for what you get in the box. And not to mention, like DeVere doesn't do like what you like is like the
Well, I was going to say, Deluxification is
Deluxification.
so
Yeah.
big right now in the crowdfunding space. And I think that one of the things that blew my mind when we were just unboxing and touching the pieces, there are a couple times I looked at a few of those dollar bills and I was like, wait, is this real?
yeah.
I mean, those dollar bills look, outside of the notes and stuff that were on them, but the quality of the linen paper that you guys use for the dollar bills,
Yes.
or again the amps with just the quality of the dual layer boards. I mean, so I see what Dion's saying, but at the same time, like at the price point that you guys came out with this, compared to so many games where I feel like everything that comes out now is going to be $80 to $100 at minimum. And I don't feel like I need to deluxify this game because it already came with a lot of deluxe pieces, and it's literally half that cost.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. At $80, I mean that's what I originally thought. I was like, oh, that's an $80 game.
yeah.
That's it's $79.99 on my shelf all day long. And then I went and I was like, oh, I'm wrong. Holy crap, guys! This is like 40. I think it's like $49.99, right?
That's retail and free.
Yeah,
Right
that's the
now,
MSRP that
you can pre-order it from a number of sites for 3/4 of that. I will tell you though that if you want the promo card, which is yours truly, promo character with the standee and the character card and the whole thing, you've got to get that either at Gen Con or Essen or through DeVere's website.
or you're going to send us one, right?
I'm gonna send you my
Not if you just beat them up over the baggies.
Yeah.
I'm gonna send you my baggie full of baggies.
Oh, I got it. I have them. I have them. I run a game store, so I have them. I wasn't upset with that. Don't get me wrong. But that's usually, unfortunately, that's what DeVere. Every game that I open of DeVere's, I have the same problem. Now, do I get out of like a Bamboo or out of a lot of their games? Do I get a very quality game? Do I get good quality pieces? Do I not pay crazy amount? Absolutely, every time. Right.
time.
So,
And this-
I agree with what you're saying. There is a lot of game in this box for what it is. I'm not going to Gen Con this year because it's mainly based for consumers, and neither are my. Well, you're going to go.
I may go.
I might send Shay
gonna be
down
out
to
of the
get
country,
us a expansion, a little you in the game.
See, now I need to buy it at Gen Con.
No, you don't. You just go get the.
Because I want the promo.
Yeah, I pre-ordered all of mine from DeVere.
So Jackie, one of the questions I always love to ask developers is, especially the first time that you held this box, and you think of the countless hours that you put into it, the work, the thought, the play testing, the frustrations, the annoyances, the heartwarming moments. What was it like the first time you held this box as a retail copy?
I mean, it was like, I look at this and I'm like, Jesus, I did this. I made, I willed this into being, and
Yes.
The horrible thing of the timing was I designed this in 2019. It took me a year to figure out how to prototype those amps. I mean, they tell you don't need to do that kind of stuff, and it's like, well, maybe not, but I'm a first-time designer. How do I make myself stand out from all the other designs that are out there? And I went, I'm making amplifiers that you can go and do the thing on. And it took me a really long time to figure out how to do that and to make this amazing looking prototype. And I didn't know you really do want to get a game out in its early stage, just to see if people even respond to it. But no, I had to have a game that wasn't going to break, blah, blah, blah. So I got everything ready. Finally, here's my physical prototype. It's made. I've got my, I'm going to present it to the world, and boom, COVID. And we went to self-isolation.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a year to sit there and do nothing but play this game over and over and over and really refine it, figure out who these characters were, and to start thinking about how I was going to get this. It's like you kind of have to. The hardest thing to do as a first-time designer is put yourself in front of people. It's like I went to PAX Unplugged, first big convention, to go and talk to publishers, and I could see how busy they were, and I was like, I don't want to bother them, And they'd be like, could you kind of maybe look at this game? Like didn't know how to sell myself. That was much harder than designing the actual game. And then I just went. I have spent my life representing other people, fighting for them and not fighting for myself. And I've never really stood up for myself in my life. And this is what the moment I have been waiting for. My entire life was fighting for myself, branding myself, putting myself out there and saying, this is who I am, and you're going to feel it. You don't have to like it, but my heart and my soul are in there. So
and again, it's a really, really well done. You did an amazing job.
Okay, is it Feet to the Fire time?
Yeah, we're.
Is it that time?
Wait, we doing Feet to the Fire?
Oh, we're always doing Feet to the Fire.
God.
I didn't know we were doing Feet to the Fire.
Oh,
Before we get to the Feet, I have one question and that's it. Then we can go Feet to the Fire. So, one last question, and I'll let you go. Why did you call it Rock Hard 1977 and not Hard Rock 1977?
It was a joke. That was never supposed to be the final title. And then the problem is, by the time I got a publisher, I had started putting it on social media for a long time. So people knew it by that title, and then people liked it. But I will tell you, if you're going to search for anything about it on X, make sure you put 1977. Because I just searched the title without that one sentence. Like, whoa! Where's the warning? Where's the content warning? That is not freedom of speech.
Well,
that
Jackie,
is.
No, and I noticed that you made a comment about the sticker that was just on the front. Now all you see is that something that you were trying to get onto the box?
Doing that, and I think it's so cool because you just get to look. That artwork is not digital; it's watercolor. It is.
It's beautiful. It is beautiful. It's really good. She did a good job.
So the title is there, but because on a store shelf. You aren't going to see that subtle spot UV,
Yes, you're just going to see the white sticker in the corner until the light hits it. But I love, as a retailer, the reason why I'm asking, as a retailer, that was a great idea with the sticker. Because as a retailer, I'm going to forward face it on my shelf just like this, as I have 6 of them behind it. And I want somebody to pick this up. And you can't really tell. You're like, what is the butt game, right? Like, what game has a butt in it? But it has a nice white sticker here. I'm slapping the thing around. It has a nice white sticker here with the wrap on it, and I thought that was a great idea. And I even liked it more that once you took it off, it doesn't, because the game, you bought it. It go, you don't have it there anymore, which I loved that. And you can show people the way it reacts as you're walking by and the light hits it in different angles. So I'm a huge fan. It will go on my shelves like this or like this because I have, in here to play. But it is I love the front of the box. I think you guys did a great job.
Thank you. And I will pass that on to the artist.
Good.
All right, so this is Sweeping the Nation. Everybody loves this segment of the show. It's called Feet to the Fire. This is where, Jackie, we are going to ask you a few questions. I don't want you to overthink this.
Everything.
I just want you to say what comes right off the top of your head. hey, turn the amp down a notch.
Uh-huh.
And let's see how you do here. So we're going to ask you a couple questions. There's 5 of them here for you today. So number 1, if things had worked out differently by what I have read online by just one episode, Paul Rubens, a.k.a. Pee Wee Herman, would have been on the dating show the same time as Jackie.
Really?
She was on the dating show in 1980, and apparently, from what I have heard in old interviews, he was on like the next dating
he
show
was on
of
my
you. So,
episode, but not my game because they did 2 games per episode. So he wasn't one of my bachelors. He was the other girl's bachelor. Yeah.
so here's my
Okay.
question: if you would have been on the same one as
Oh, I'd
Pee Wee
picked him.
Herman,
Oh, hell yeah.
would you have?
We were standing back watching him and going, she's got to pick him. She's got to pick him. He was so funny. It was so, I would have picked him in a heartbeat.
Nice.
Nice.
So, if you're bored on a Friday night, what's more fun? Being on a game show or playing a board game at home with your
On a
friends?
game show,
'Cause
it
what's-
depends on the game show.
I say because you've been on quite a few in
I
your
will
history
say
here.
being on Jeopardy is the most fun thing you can do in your life. If you even have that in the back of your head, take the test. It is so much fun. So if it's Jeopardy, I would pick Jeopardy. Any other game show, I pick the playing board games.
Okay, well that brings up Jeopardy. So, Ken Jennings versus Jackie, who wins in a
Ken.
cage match on Jeopardy?
Not even close. Not even close.
She didn't even hesitate. That was feet to the fire there.
All right, this is a tough one for you from what I've my little sleuthing online. If you could only have one of these foods for the rest of your life, would it be risotto primavera or raspberry filled? It cut off. Your email cut off, but it's raspberry filled. I think vanilla
it would be-
cookies.
it would
I
be
think
the-
is your
it would be
favorite.
rice. In fact, you, as people won't know, we had some tech issues earlier when we were running late, and I was like, okay, while you get this sorted out, I'm gonna go eat some dinner. So it's just like rice and beans because I am rice and beans girl. Yeah.
What's more nerve-wracking, being on the stage with your band or releasing this to the public for the first time?
Anything that is personal to you out in front of the public is so much harder than just getting up and look, I'm obviously comfortable. The only hard thing getting up on stage is if you have to do a really long talk. Like I delivered a 45-minute keynote address on a very difficult topic, which is sexual assault. That was hard. But even getting up and doing, I did a 10-word, like somebody invited me to do this spoken word event. I had never done spoken word. So I did a deep dive into what makes a good spoken word story and kind of got the tips, picked my topic, and then I was off. And I thought I was going to be really nervous doing this. And I got up in front of a couple of hundred people and got a standing ovation. It was, and that was like, I want to do that again. I want to see if I can make, capture lightning in a bottle again. But I have to do something before we go because I promised you while we were doing our tech check that I was going to do this to you.
Oh no.
Let it go. Let it go.
Okay, gotta go. That's me, people.
All right, well then here's our last one for you, Jackie, since we're gonna play it that way. All right, here's the question: boasting it will help sell records. What rap act put their own explicit content sticker on their 1987 Rhymes Pays album?
That is so mean.
Wait, what?
That is so mean. That literally, this is the question that I lost on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. On an audience question because of the freaking grammar. And my friends who were in the audience said when I walked out that the crew was going, "That's a bad question." I tried appealing it. I literally attached research papers to my appeal. And
Oh my
they only, I
gosh.
learned about Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, they only would ever bring people back if there was a factual error. So badly
Oh, really?
worded clue, misleading thing, audience misunderstood. It was like too bad. So yeah, I went on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and lost. It cost me about $3,000 to do that.
Because the correct answer was.
I know who it was, and I love
It was
Ice-T
Ice-T, for those
so
who don't
much.
know.
If I ever met him, I'm probably going to be like, "You ass, you ass, oh, oh." So, okay.
Oh,
Hey, Ice, give me 3.
give me three. You owe me $3,000,
Yeah,
Ice-T.
you
By the
owe
way,
me,
we
you owe
expect that.
me $250,000, Ice-T. I'm just saying. Just saying.
Oh wow.
Well, Jackie, I think it's safe to say that for somebody who's coming out with their first game, you've absolutely, you got #1 on the Billboard charts in our book, and you should be very proud of what you have accomplished. And I think your story is amazing, and I agree with Dion. I think you're shortchanging yourself if you don't maybe make some memoirs and really share more, just a very consolidated story, just the fun stories that you've had, because listening to you tonight has been such a pleasure. And I hope people really take the time to listen to this interview, because I think you bring a lot to the board game space that's so different than other people that we talk to. So thank you so much for all of your time tonight. And like I said, I kind of joked earlier, I hope we are not paying billable hours for a lawyer, because we're
We
going to go
went way
broke
over.
on this
Yeah,
show.
yeah, we got chatting and got away.
If I wanted
Sorry.
to be rich, I would not have designed a board game.
Thank you.
Feel that.
Thank
Every
you.
game-
Feel that. Anyway.
Yeah, you feel that in your soul,
Every
don't you?
single
I feel
game
that.
on
What about
that-
Rock Hard
every single game on
1987?
that shelf
Is it
is somebody who didn't give a shit about being rich,
Yes.
right?
Yeah,
we do
absolutely.
this we do
Well-
this because it's a passion.
Because you love it. Yes, you love it. You love to see people play your game, and it's a love for the industry. And like you said, some of the things in the very beginning, the reason why we play board games, mine's escapism. I love to escape everything and just focus on this. I run a business, so it's nice to not worry about inventory, worry about what I've got, what's coming out next week. I could just sit down and get lost in this world. And your game helped me do that as well. So I did enjoy it when I played it, and I'm a heavy board gamer. So usually games that are kind of entry level or good for entry level, I scan over. I mean, there's one that was released. Every time I have to learn a new game, I go, man, I don't want to play. If it's like a lower level or entry level. This one didn't have that effect. I was very excited when I got it. When I sat down and talked to the DeVere rep originally at Gamma, we got really excited about it, and I'm glad we were able to put together this interview. I'm glad that you spent your time. I hope that you designed Rock Hard 1987, maybe. I don't know.
It wasn't rocking as hard in the 80s.
Yeah, there was hair bands.
Oh,
You could
yeah.
get away with some hair
Yeah,
bands.
hair rock
but you also bring in MTV comes out in the 80s, so
Yes.
and then 2000s, sorry, the 90s, you get streaming and messing with your
The
revenue.
grunge.
There's like
Yeah.
Ah.
I want to be a hip hop star in
Did you
the
see her face?
1900s.
If you were looking at her face, what she was telling you with her eyes was expansions.
Now, well, just
expansions.
standalone games.
Right. Oh,
Like
that's-
Rock Hard 1977, then Rock Hard 1987, Rock Hard 1999. Oh, party like it's not perfect.
Yeah,
we
there
got
we
it.
go.
We
All
got
right,
you.
well,
We're waiting on
Jackie,
I
more.
would love,
Thank
I
you
was
so
going to say,
Oh,
I
go ahead, I'm
know
sorry,
this
go ahead.
the characters are I sat there with them for a year. A couple of them changed a little because of Jennifer's art. You asked me kind of what's part of the process.
Mm-hmm.
My first conversation with her was, these are our babies. They're going to have both of us in them. And there were a couple of ethnicities that were harder for her to draw. So Kim was originally, was born in Korea, was Korean, and the artwork just kind of looks vaguely Asian. So I sent this to my friends who are Asian, and I said, what ethnicity is this person? And they came back and said, like, maybe part Asian, part white. And I kind of dove into the research of, like, how many Koreans were here? Where in the U.S. were they? And I really found out that in that era, there were a lot of Korean war kids right? For people, GIs stationed in Korea, married women in Korea, they came back and eventually got their wives and families over. And I went, that's it. Because I wanted you to be able to feel like, if you don't see yourselves in the game, it's hard to feel that it's a really welcoming space. So I just went, okay, you know what? Maybe you can't name a big Asian rock star, but I knew them back in the 70s. They were there. And there were so many great black musicians playing rock that, that you've kind of either forgotten about or that never really got their due. Uh, my favorite rock song of all time is Cult of Personality, which now is like, yeah, oh, come on, that song is banging, right?
Oh, put it down.
It is my number one rock song of all time. But yes, it's
Really?
like,
Wow.
hello, who invented rock and roll? It wasn't Mozart, although Mozart was kind of a rock star. But yeah, so I wanted, yeah.
And you can tell the heart that you put into those characters. You read the backstory. There was the one lady who was like never credited for the Beatles or credited with some Beatles work. Like I absolutely enjoyed just picking up the cardboard, flipping it around, and just reading the story of my character, or the story of like the initial. This is a little bit of your backstory or your motivation, the first cards that you get,
Life
right?
experience,
The
yeah.
life experiences. I just enjoyed that little touch, and I think it's missed in a lot, in Euro games especially, it's missed, but in a lot of even American style gaming, it does hit a theme. But I think a lot of that extra touch, that heart that you put into it, wasn't AI wrote. It was actually, you can tell it was well thought out of like the character that you're playing, and it fit the theme of when you flipped it over, the art matched to the person, and you're kind of playing that role. And yeah, it had special abilities and everything that you expect into a game that was kind of like, ooh, this is unique. But we've talked about it a couple times. We really enjoyed the heart that was put into it as gamers, as three champions of tabletop that really enjoy playing games. And
we
decided to
love
do a
the
show,
heart,
so.
but what Board Game Geek wanted to know, so we can wrap this up, so Jackie can get back to enjoying her time without us, bothering her all night here. But the one question on Board Game Geek everybody wanted to ask is,
We
whose
had
butt?
so many discussions about the butt.
Yeah, that's a good question. Whose butt?
who's the butt?
Whose butt is that?
Exactly.
Whoever's you want it to be?
Yeah, well, yeah, that was actually the idea. Yeah. Look, everybody had, except for Bachman Turner Overdrive, the one exception, which was great, and maybe Ann Wilson, who's talked about this. The skinny butts were I was gonna say skinny butts were big. That's it.
No, that's great. That's wonderful.
That's
That's before I like big butts and I cannot
I
lie.
wondered
was
when she
released.
talked about Robert Plant earlier if this was Robert Plant.
And I mean, it's not, but it ended up, to me, it gives very Robert Plant vibes. The Robert Plant with the guitar. But yeah. But
I mean, is the real answer is it this guy?
that guy is guy is based on I'll tell you what, that guy was the first. No, Eric, who is on the side of the box, that is the Eric child. I wanted to put in because you never see redheaded guys in games that aren't.
Touche.
It's only
Two.
one
No,
Shay.
There's only
There's
one
one
Shay.
Shay.
There's
There's
just-
one Shay.
we can't handle two.
We
of
can't
And I
have
was
two
like-
Just
Shays.
one
Shay,
Shay.
but-
Give me
Yeah,
a hot
but-
ginger, guy.
Yeah. Let's go. That's the first time I've ever heard somebody say that.
A hot ginger
Well, they
guy?
said hot ginger, so
Yeah.
I'm a ginger. Just
I
but
know,
anyways,
I have
thank you for saying
reputation.
that because we're not well loved out there.
And that's where we wrap up the show. And thank you for your time. That's him off.
Well, either way, Jackie, again, thank you so much for your time. We cannot thank you enough for everything, and we wish you nothing but the best at Gen Con when this game is really launched. We hope it's absolutely successful, and more importantly, we certainly hope to maybe have you back when Rock Hard 1987 or the next expansion comes
Sounds
out.
good.
Yes.
So, All right. You have a wonderful night.
Thank you so
and
very
don't
much,
forget,
Jackie.
champions, never stop playing.